Your screen had the tunneling effect for me for a second. I loved it.
What does that mean?
Like your screen showed your screen on it. So on my screen, seeing your screen, it was just like
Right.
a infinite doorway kind of thing.
Yeah. So it looks like we're streaming.
Awesome. You got the audio going?
That's what I don't know.
All right. I mean, we've said some words now. If you want to real quick stop the stream and double check it. Audio going?
That's what I don't
Is there a way to do that? All right.
All right, that's it. No.
I mean, we've said some words now. If you want to real quick stop
Can you hear
the
us?
stream and double check it. Audio going?
That's what
I mean, I can only. It's not like
All right,
doing
that's
a
it.
loop
No.
effect if that's what you're saying.
Okay, it is on my end. Okay. Cool. So we got audio.
Awesome.
So yeah, let's dive in. So I think we're good. And if we screw this up 2 times in a row, that'll be really awful. Let me get a table of contents so we don't get off track.
All right, sounds
So
good.
I texted you what we want to do, right? So first thing is talk about if you took any of the courses and what are your opinions on them.
Yeah.
2 is, let me get this text. Okay, 2 is walk through my apps, right? And pick which one you want to work on.
Right.
3 is you actually clone it and make some change. Okay, 4 is test brackets collaborative code plugin. That will be fun. All right, and what I want to add in here is probably Angular. And then here I want to add a noobs 10 best friends. And I don't know if I have 10. I just thought that would be catchy, but here's what they actually are. 1 is debugger. 1 is F12 Chrome DevTools. 1 is alert. 1 is console.log. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe I only got 4 best friends. And
This video, boom, number 5, swap it to 5. We're good.
yeah, no, and we'll leave it there for now. But some others, and there's also some other software I think we'll need. I can mention it. You might not need to install it, but one is Greenshot. I'll just mention this to you right here. You don't need to install this right now, but you can do this later. Greenshot.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're actually developing and you're working with other people, we got the snipping tool right here, right? You see this?
Yeah.
It's super nifty because they're going to see a bug or something. They can just go click and grab it, and they can send you that. So even if they're not technical and they can't describe what's going on, they can just show you and you can figure it out.
Oh, okay.
So the snipping tool is super dope, but what I've noticed is that on different versions of Windows, it doesn't always have delay. Like you'll have the snipping tool, but this delay button will not be here.
Okay.
Like on my work machine, for example. So you need this delay thing because sometimes, for example, with a drop down, let's see if I got, so right here, if I got a drop down, now I go to click my snipping tool. Let's see if this does what I'm expecting. It goes away. No, it stayed there. Okay. But sometimes whatever you're clicking on will lose focus, and so the bug that they're seeing will go away because it doesn't have focus. Like maybe this hover effect. You see how it has an underline?
Yeah.
So so now I want to get an underline. Oh, I can't underline, so I need delay of like a second, and now I can underline. Right? Okay.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
do you see what I mean? So the bottom line is this snipping tool, as it is on my machine, is pretty dope, but it doesn't always have that delay. So Greenshot is free. Is it open source? I'm not sure if it's open source. Oh, completely free and open source. There you go. Yeah, I feel like I read about it recently became open source. So the code's even on GitHub. So Greenshot is a free and open source, I would say alternative to the snipping tool, but the fact is it actually has a ton more features. It has way more features, but the main one as a developer that I like to use is that it always has delay. So even if your machine doesn't have, and then the other thing is not everyone has Windows, right? Like some people are working on Mac and some people are working on Linux. There's a bunch of Linux distributions that don't even have a built-in snipping tool. So they can. So actually, I'm not sure. Is this Linux? No, this is just for Windows. So that wasn't even a good point. But yeah, this thing has delay on it. Greenshot was one tool, and pzip is another. So pzip is just a zipping utility. And again, you don't need to get this right now, but it's just for people to know about. So why do we want pzip is because it has encryption. You can do encryption. So like if you go download WinZip or whatever, it does not have built-in encryption. Right, so here it is, but this one does. And I had to use this recently because I'm working on a government contract and we can't just like send, there's certain files that's like sensitive material that we can't just
Yeah.
email. We can't just email them. So if we zip them and encrypt them, then we can email them. So that's really nifty if anyone's dealing with something that involves secure information, like if you're making a software that you want to be able to buy and sell stuff and like credit card data is going over your records. Okay, those are just two things I wanted to mention. So why don't you tell me, did you do any of those courses? Even if you didn't complete them, did you get started? What were your thoughts?
Yeah. So I spent a decent amount of time. I got about halfway through their JavaScript course, and probably only a third of the way into the HTML and CSS courses. And I assume it's like a course one thing. I don't know. I'm not all the way through, so I assume they have more stuff they tell you. But they were both like 10-hour courses. And that much free time's hard to find.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
as far as what I thought about them, actually the HTML and CSS one, because I would say a lot of it was just, which is important. Like you would have to almost retype out your entire like boilerplate code to like starting nothing like HTML document.
Mm-hmm.
So that you kind of learn. All right, so declare it's HTML, set up this, set up the. Wow, words are hard. I said made you remember, and then I kind of forgot it. What was it? The HTML, then your head, then your body, throw in the style if you want it, whatever.
Right, right.
So for someone that knew nothing about the HTML and CSS, I at least feel like I currently know a bit about it. And like I said, I'm only like a third of the way into that.
So you went into this, you didn't
Uh,
know anything about it, right?
right. Not the HTML and CSS. Like, I think in junior high, they had us like build a website, but it was using some tool, so you didn't actually have to do any of the coding.
Yeah.
It was more like a drag and drop build a website thing.
So coming to this as like a totally, and by the way, we're talking about the Code Academy course, right?
Yes. Uh, There were some other things I used just because my phone didn't have Academy app, so I think it was called Solo Learn. It's on my phone, but I did also use Code Academy for most of it because I was actually on my computer. But at work, I used like Solo Learn during break to get like 10 or 20 minutes of stuff in.
Okay, and here's a pro tip, by the way. So you can see I'm logged into Code Academy. So if I visit Code Academy, what does it do? It takes me to my user profile.
Yeah.
So like people who are not logged in, it's going to look totally different to them. But one trick, I don't know if you know this, Mike, if you put a period after the end of com, edu, gov, whatever that thing there is called, I forget what it's called. If you put a period after that, it
Yeah.
will not transmit your cookie data. So Code Academy doesn't know that I'm logged in right now when I do that. You see what I
All
did?
right. That is actually good to know. I did not know that at all.
Just a little pro tip. So this is Code Academy, what we're talking about. So as someone who's like kind of new to HTML and CSS, did you feel like you could pick it up like it was targeted at a beginner?
I was definitely targeting a beginner. It's, like I said, they start off with a blank page
Yeah,
and pretty much just start with saying, hey, do this. We'll explain the details of what's going on later. But right now, just know this is the way that things are set up. And then they break it down into like what each individual thing kind of means.
got it. So can I put you on the spot and can we make a little simple web page real quick?
For sure.
Okay, so either I can be on my screen and you can just like tell me what to type, or else I can switch sharing over to you.
Uh, we'll start on your screen. And like I said, only about a third of the way into this, so it'd be an incredibly simple web page, but I'm up for it.
Okay, and and when you were dealing with JavaScript, did you did you see something called an alert?
Yeah, it's pretty much I don't know, the equivalent of just printing something, but it's like a timed window pop up.
Yeah, and so you worked a little bit with Java previously, right?
Yeah, I have
So,
a decent bit of experience with Java.
so when you're talking about printing, you're talking about printing to a Java console.
Right.
Yeah,
Just like print.line, but
right.
yeah, and then this it just pops up into another window.
So let's do this. Let's make a green square. Um, that when you click it, it has an alert and it can say anything you want. So how would I do that?
So as far as I know, you guys start off in some random notepad editor, right?
Yep.
Uh, so from what it was telling me, we're gonna need two files, one just for the HTML, one for the CSS.
Okay.
Is that how you usually do it, or do you want to put it all in one?
So the best way, obviously, is to have multiple files and keep everything modular. But for this practice, I want to see if you know how to put it all in one file.
All right, yeah. Then the first thing, it started off declaring the HTML document type. So the two little angular caret things, yeah, doc type, HTML.
Did I do it wrong?
The way they did, what it was doc type HTML was all written inside the carets or something else. I forgot.
We
And
can
then it was
Google it.
exclamation point doc type.
Exclamation point doc type. Yeah, that's right. So is it? So where does the HTML go?
Right after doc type, just space HTML all lowercase.
Cool. Next.
Next we got a little bit more room, but then it's you just actually set up the HTML. It's pretty much you do the caret things again, HTML inside it.
Right on.
Then
That's
another
called a
caret,
tag, by the
but you
way.
have to have the forward slash.
You talking about that?
Was it element? Yeah, I just forgot what that setup is called.
Yep. Element. So an element refers to the object. When we're talking about the text, we also call it a tag.
There you go. Tag is actually the word I was looking for. Okay, and then a crap ton of room in between the two.
Okay.
At least I like a lot of white space when I start working.
Sure.
It's more of a personal thing. All right. Yeah, like that. See, the more lines, the better. Uh, all right. Then, since you said you want everything, kind of the same kind of thing, we need the style tag, which should be within the HTML declaration, right?
Yeah, it is. So where should I put that? Does it matter if it goes at the top or at the bottom?
I believe that doesn't matter, but I put it at the top just because it was taught. So it's my understanding that that's just more of a uniform where people would look for it.
Okay.
But as far as execution, I don't believe it matters.
Does it matter where I save this file or what I call it?
Uh, where you save it shouldn't matter, but I think you have to call it whatever.html.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we'll call it whatever.html.
Awesome.
Let me just check my desktop. So here it is. Boom. It's a web page. Cool. All right. What am I doing?
All right. Well, first we should probably add some kind of a body to this, at least get something going on, because right now the web page is just blank.
So you want me to add a body tag?
Right. No. What was it? No, wait. Yeah, body. There you go. Yeah. I don't know why, for some reason. I said body, but I was thinking I said paragraph.
No problem.
Not what I meant at all.
All right, sir. What am I doing?
Okay, you said you wanted the style to be what again?
A green square.
A green square. That's just like the background. You just want a green square, kind of.
I want a separate square, not the whole body. I want there to be a square somewhere inside of the body.
A square somewhere inside the body. I'm going to go ahead and let you know I did not get that far. I briefly touched on CSS. So as far as making my own, I do that. I only just started brushing up on what each part of the CSS, what the CSS coding was.
Cool, no problem.
So I know it would be within the style element, but would not know how to actually proceed.
No problem. If you don't know how to learn it, we can learn it right now. So, do you know any elements that can go inside of the body?
You can get the header tab. So what? H1, I think.
All right, cool. Let's do H1.
Oh wait, does that go in the body or?
It can go in the body, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I don't need quite that much white space in hindsight.
Yeah. So I'm going to add a script tag somewhere. Does it matter where that goes?
Sorry, I'm pulling up the few notes that I do actually have on it. I mean, I do not know where the script tag would go. I assume it would be top by the HTML as well.
So best practice on the script tag is to put it at the end of the body.
The end of the body. Okay.
Yeah, and I know that looks weird, but the reason is because it makes your page load faster. So script tags are blocking. What that means is that the browser, like Firefox, Chrome, the actual browser software, is not going to render the page. Like if you have a green square, the green square is not going to show up until all of the JavaScript is loaded in memory. If that tag is above, let's say the H1 is the green square. If the tag is up here, it will not render this until this is in memory. But if I put it at the bottom, it'll load this before it gets to the JavaScript. So the page actually loads faster, so the user thinks it's faster.
Gotcha. All right. That's what I can remember. Like I said, I just had been learning the CSS and HTML more recently.
Yeah, no
For
problem.
some reason, I wasn't thinking JavaScript tag, even though it's quite literally just only script. I was thinking, what did I just learn about HTML? I don't remember the term script.
No problem, man. We're here to learn. So, did you learn about styling elements?
Uh, I mean, I learned that you could put style inside. Sorry, words are hard. So like the tags, style tags.
Mm-hmm.
I learned about those. But as far as specific things, I know you have color you can set. You can set to decorate, so like a font, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I know you can set like if you have an image, you can change the border. Like if instead of having a square image, you can make it a little circle or whatnot. Uh, so I have a few things that I learned on that, but as far as most of it, not still. I assume that I still have not scratched all of that.
Okay, so you did not learn how to make a square, for example.
No, on its own, I have not learned how I could, I say, add an image onto the page, but I don't know how to create an image.
Okay, well, I want to do it right now. I would rather you do this work. I feel like that's better for you to learn, but I can keep doing this if you want. So, um, I would just say Google it, man. Do you want to Google it?
Yeah, sure thing. That, I mean, Googling always solves like 90% of world issues.
So yeah,
Uh,
that's true. So I won't share your screen if you don't want to, but if you want to, go ahead. Otherwise, just tell me what you would search.
uh, I'm just going HTML green square. It's not exactly just my first shot in the dark on it.
Okay. So which of these should I pick?
That third one, that seems best.
This is so
All
awful.
right, I have no
No, this
idea
is
what that.
no, this is really awful. This is not a good. He's using Bootstrap. So let's just pick this first one. Stack Overflow is better than Quora anyway.
Okay.
So this guy's using a div tag. So and it's called Square A, and Square A matches to this CSS rule.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it right there. Can you
Okay. Now, real quick, uh, the pound sign.
yeah, means ID.
What is that being used for? Oh, that's ID.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now, I will tell you whenever you're styling, it's better to use classes than IDs. IDs are for a particular element, but let's say that you have a class rule, then if you have another element, you can give it the same class. If you have another element, you can't give it the same ID.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying? So whenever you style, try to use classes. It's going to save you a lot of time. Like even this guy right here, if he had had a square class, then height, he wouldn't have wrote that rule twice. Width, he wouldn't have wrote that twice. He would have to change the background color. That's true. Border, all. So basically, he would be able to say square and then square space B to create a square rule that has all this, and then rule B would only have that line.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
In fact, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's have a green and a red square. So this guy has a green and a red square, but we can write the rules better than him. So let's do it. What should I do?
I'm like 90% lost on going forward with this. I mean, if you just plug in that where it actually just says square A, does that actually just print a square?
So if I want to, let's say I want to start by copying this, where do I put it?
You would just put it inside the body tag somewhere, right?
Anywhere in the body tag?
Not within the script.
So I got CSS style, and it can go right here.
Oh, wow. No. it would have to go within the actual style tags or
Yes,
style.
sir. That's right. Now we
Yeah,
at least
tags.
copied his style. We're not sure it works. Do you want to test his stuff to make sure it even works before we try to modify it?
Yes,
Okay, so let's say
because I have no idea what that actually does right now.
absolutely. Let's say I have this square rule and I want to test it. How do I associate that? We just talked about it. How do I associate that with an element?
Oh, you just have to declare it, don't you?
Yep. So what should I declare?
I mean, he sets his like I don't know what ID is. In all honesty, uh,
All it does is it allows you to reference this element with the
yeah.
ID instead of the element name.
Okay, that seems really weird. Uh, but sure, why not? Uh,
Can I just copy this one?
so
Can
like
I
I
just
said,
copy a div? I'm gonna do that.
I believe so.
Yes, I can. In fact, if I tried to use it on H1, it wouldn't work because this does not declare display block. Did you learn about block elements and inline elements?
Uh, Pretty much to cover a lot of what I've done with the at least styling of the CSS. Like I know how to. That's it. Where's it hard? Uh, the actual styling bit, I've not learned most of what the code does. I'm not very far into it. Uh, like I know roughly where stuff goes, but it's not at the point yet where I can start making my own stuff.
That's fine. We're doing that right now. So check this out. You see how I got there?
I see where you're at now. I wasn't. I didn't see. You just dragged and dropped it, right?
Yep. So this is a browser, so browsers can render HTML pages.
Yeah.
So all I did is here's my HTML page, and I just drag and drop it into a new tab on my browser.
All right. Yeah. So it did give us that red square.
Yep. So this is using a div. Now let's try to use H1 instead.
Okay. Now, real quick, what is a div?
A div it literally means division, but it's the most generic HTML element that is a block display type. So basically, when you're making a web page, if you're not sure what to use a div. That's the rule of thumb. Always.
Okay. So, like, whereas paragraphs or like ordered lists or unordered lists, they kind of have a set in style for it. I assume div is just put something here.
Yes.
Okay.
When in doubt, use div. That's the rule. It's extremely flexible. So other HTML elements will have a ton of like built-in styling assumptions that you may or
Yeah.
may not know. Div has very few of those. Basically, the only styling assumption in a div is that it's a block, and it doesn't assume anything else.
All right.
So let's try H1. If I'm not mistaken, H1 is not a block. So we should see a whole bunch of nothing. Boom. Oh, no, even H1. H1. What if I use span? Span is definitely not a block. Okay. So H1 is a block. H1 is H1 element block. They are block elements. So that makes sense, right? So there's a bunch of different display types, including block, inline, inline block, and flex. But the main two ones you need to know are display and inline. Inline means like text.
Oh, okay.
It's like hi. You see that?
Yeah.
Now that I got text, I got hi, and but it's referring to the actual inline text of hi, so I can still style that. element.style, I can say you learned color green, right?
Yeah.
The other is a block, and this is referring to a region on the web page, like this right here. This is a block. It's like a two-dimensional object.
Okay.
This widget right here, Google built this. You see, look, it's a div. It's a block. This thing right here, I'm trying to get the whole thing. Da, 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 da. Boom. So this is what I was trying to highlight. That's a block. But what if we take just some text on there? Actually, they put that inside a block element too, which you can do. So because it's a block, it has height and width. That's the big deal. Spans don't have height and width, but anything that's a block has a height and width.
All right.
Okay, given that, how do I make, I have this red square. How do I make a green square?
So you just have to change the color of it, which I assume you can just edit what name you gave it the name ID, right?
Yep, I gave it the ID of square A.
Okay, real quick. Is ID is that referencing just sorry, phrasing my question's weird. Can you make another square just like next to it?
Like copy and paste this line?
Sure. That might yeah, can you reload that? I just want to see something.
Okay.
Okay. So ID isn't like it's not like a variable or anything, right?
The way that
What is it?
it's an ID, it's an identifier. It's kind of like a name. So now this we would call a property. So the element is an object and it has a property called ID. It's kind of like a name, right? It's the way you identify something. In theory, it's supposed to be a unique ID. We didn't write it that way. So actually, this is like bad HTML.
All right, so real quick, square A in this instance is referring to just a unique object, correct?
No, not right now. I mean, it's supposed to, but the way we wrote it, it doesn't. So if we had any JavaScript trying to call an ID of square A, it would behave unpredictably.
All right, that might be where I'm a little lost, but I assume that you could just do ID dot like background color and change it to something else.
Yep, that's right.
All right.
So how do we get a green color? I wonder what color this is.
I'd assume just ID dot background color green in the parentheses, but the way it looks like up here, that seems completely off.
ID dot background color. So are you talking about this or
Yeah. I mean, or you're just trying to change the color of it, right?
So these are line numbers on the far left. Do you see that? 1, 2, 3, 4?
Yeah.
Okay, so what line number do you want me to change?
It'd be line number 7, right?
Okay, so you want me to change line number 7. What should it say?
I assume that just saying green might not work, or would it? Is there a default green color?
Yep.
All right.
Now the other thing you can do is you can just Google, right back to Google, and you just say color picker. Isn't that nifty? Google even has this built-in widget.
There you go. That's part of why I was saying I didn't think green would work, because instead of just a color, they had the the very specific color of green.
That's called a hex code. And there are some different formats. So another format is RGB, and then finally RGBA, which includes alpha, which means opacity, like how transparent it is.
I gotcha.
So this is RGB, and Now let's say I want a third square that's just the same color, but it's 50% opaque or transparent. So I can do one of these.
So yeah, and then square C.
Yep. So you literally just do RGBA and then 0.5, so it's a decimal. A, B, C, right. Boom. Cool, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we got this shitty HTML right here that does jack shit nothing. But I want to do two things with this. So one is I want to be able to click on one of these squares, maybe even all of these squares, and it's going to have an alert that does anything.
All right. Also, real quick, just to jump to pinpoint where most of my confusion is coming from. Most of it would just be that ID references multiple different squares that's throwing me off. So I understand that that's the way it is. It's just like I said, I hadn't gotten to putting stuff in the page itself, if that makes sense. So my knowledge is coming from like Java, where unique names are way more important. And I guess ID is just the equivalent of print this.
ID is not the equivalent of print this. ID is in art. So XML is a very open spec. HTML is built on XML.
Uh-huh.
You can literally type anything you want between carets. Look at this. Note to, from, they're just making shit up. You see that?
Yeah.
This is called XML. So I can put, and I guess my browser is freaking out. Shockwave isn't responding. What the? I want to edit it. I can put anything I want inside these carets, and it will be a property of that object. So this is not JSON. There's two data description things that are really common. One is XML, and then one is JSON. So this would be JSON. It will be food is an object that has these properties. One is name, and it'd be Berry Belgian waffles. All right. So this represents the same data, the same object in two formats. This is XML. This is JSON. I mean, I would need to put price and description and everything, but I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So here I can do this. Anything I want. Purple. Dog. Okay?
Yeah.
Like that doesn't, and then your concern is, so I can put anything there. So my point is, and your concern was that the ID is not unique. My point is that there is nothing checking anything in here. So even if I call even if I call
I get
it,
what you're saying.
Yeah.
That part I get a lot. I was saying if you actually go back to the whatever document real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my thing was just putting an image in. Or I guess, because it's within the tag itself. Okay. No, I see how you're doing that. It was, I'd say, like, most of what I've done is, like, referencing an actual picture somewhere else. So, wait,
You're talking about like
an
an image with a source. Is that what you're talking about?
Kinda. Here, let me ask something else. If you got rid of ID equals, it was just square A in there.
Mm-hmm. You're allowed to. Well, what's it going to do? I mean, it'd still be there, but it won't have the style. So look, you see here, by the way, this is F12 when I talked about a noob's best friends. Boom, F12. This pops up, this bad boy. This is called Chrome Developer Tools.
Okay.
And you can get the same thing by right-clicking and saying inspect. and it will go to, these are the elements on the page, and this is the inspector tool, and I can click it, and it's super cool stuff right here.
Okay, so basically the ID equals is what actually throws it on the page, or what does it do?
Close. You're getting there. So this is already on the page, if you notice. It's just not a square with all the styles we talked about, right?
Right.
So what the ID does is it creates a reference to CSS rule.
Okay.
So this ID is not doing anything in the HTML world, but CSS is going to come in and say, hey, anything that has this ID, I need to apply these rules. So we got rid of ID, so it still has this anonymous value, but it's not connecting to the CSS rule.
Okay, so ID is specifically linking to anything with that pound sign, right?
Yes, pound sign is literally shorthand for ID. Now I can do this. Check this out. Check this out. So this is an attribute now. You see, when I had quotes, I called it an anonymous value.
Yeah.
But I get rid of the quotes. Now it's an attribute or property. So this is the property. This is the value. You can also say this is the key. This is the value. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I was just getting confused that ID was specifically calling whatever was by the pound sign.
I know. I agree with you. But I'm about to show you something else. So now this is a key.
Okay.
ID is a key. So values come in quotes and keys don't have quotes. Right? So now that I got rid of the quotes, this is a key. So check out what I'm about to do. Now we're back in business. Because this is a different CSS syntax. So this brace or this bracket on the left and right, this is called an attribute selector. You say these are the CSS selectors. Every developer needs to, not right up front, but like eventually you need to know all these CSS selectors like second nature. You don't need to memorize them up front. I think like when people are teaching how to code, one of the big problems they do is they act like you have to know all this stuff up front. That's not the case. It's just you're eventually going to learn all these. So like UL.
I got the element type, the unsorted list part.
Yeah. So I'm selecting by the element right there.
Yeah.
Here I can select, this is what we talked about. I'm selecting by the ID. You see that?
Okay. Yeah, that's.
Here is what
I got it.
Here's
that was a weird way to go about putting it, but I think I actually got that.
Good. Here, this is what I was talking about, classes. This is a period. This is a class selector. This is a descendant combinator. So that's a very fancy fucking way of saying it's a box that's inside a container.
Okay.
So that would look like div ID equals container. Div class equals block. And then end div. And I'm not formatting this properly, but formatting doesn't affect rendering. It just makes you cool or not. So you see how now we have a block that's inside a container?
Yes.
So that is the descendant. It's like a child. So the box, it has a class of box, and it's a child of an ID of container. Cool?
Yeah, no, I get that. It's yeah, no, I got it.
This is another, so there's all these fancy things. This means a direct child. So technically, and you can have multiple classes. Did you know that?
I've not gotten to that now.
Okay, so we're about to wrap this up, but I want to finish. So technically, this is also a block that is a descendant of container. You see what I mean?
I get what you're saying. I don't see if I know what you mean.
So what I mean is the definition of descendant means there's a element and another element that is inside of that element.
Yeah.
So does this div that I'm selecting right now, does it have a class of block?
No, that one would have a class of other block.
So the space, it's a good thing that you just said that. The space is a delimiter for class names. So this guy actually has two classes. He has a class of other and a class of block.
Okay.
And this is all going to come back to those squares when I told you that we can write those square rules better. And we're about to do that, and then we'll be done with this exercise. So this does have a class of block. It also has a class of other. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So does this have a class of block?
Yes.
Is it a descendant of an element with an ID of container?
I think so. Yes.
Yes. And you know it's a descendant because it's inside the tag boundaries. Okay.
Yeah.
So this rule, would it apply?
I assume so, but I don't know. I'm not really following.
That's fine, dude. Just take your guess. And you're right. It would apply. This is an element with an ID of container, and it's the descendant that has a class of box. So the answer is both of these get that style. Now, this is a direct child selector. This caret right here means it's not a descendant, it's a direct child only, one level deep only.
Okay.
So in that case, this block, would it get the style?
Yes.
Yes. This one, would it?
No.
No, you're correct. So that's the point of the child selector. And there's all these very fancy selectors, and there's more and more and more. I'm not going to go through them all. They do not just matter for style, they also matter for JavaScript. Because when we're working with JavaScript, the way we get objects often is by CSS selectors. Okay. So all of this being said, let's go back to, we got 3 squares and they're all pretty much the same, but I'm not using classes because I'm a terrible developer. I don't know how to use classes. But I just showed you how to use classes, didn't I?
If that's what that was, I guess.
So
I don't see any classes you've made.
I haven't. So I'm about to ask you to make one. So do you get what a class is in theory, at least? Like forgetting about how to write it. Do you get the idea of a class?
I believe so. As far as if you mean like I said, I've done Java a lot, so I understand classes in Java. Assuming that's kind of a universal thing, then yeah, I would understand them. But if they're somehow super different, then no.
Actually, it's very similar. So across programming languages, syntax, like how you actually write things, is very different.
Yeah.
The API, that is the vocabulary and the specific words that you use, can be quite different. But the principles are generally pretty much the same. And the abstract ideas are generally pretty much the same. That's design systems principles. So an object, it pretty much means the same thing in theory across languages, even though how you actually construct one is differently in terms of syntax and so forth. So why don't you just tell me your idea based on Java or whatever, why would I use a class?
Classes so that if you have multiple, let's say, different squares, like let's say you want to be able to specify the size of a square, color of a square, but you didn't want to make a new unique square every time, like write one out entirely. You can just say, all right, here's a class for squares. They all have a height, a width, and a color. And then every time you want to make a square, it just becomes that much quicker to actually make one.
Absolutely right. So, and you're talking about they can all have height and width and so forth. Those are the properties, but you can actually provide default values as well.
Yeah. So if you only want to, you could have different ways to call it. So you could if you initiate it with just a color value, you could fall back on those default height or widths, or you could give it customized values for all three, etc.
So let me ask you this: these three squares, do they have anything in common?
They all have the same height and width, and border radius, and text align, and margin, how far it is to the left, whatever
Yep.
that is.
Margin
Really,
left
the only
means
thing we changed was the color.
absolutely right. You're getting my idea here. So what I want to do from a coding perspective, I can really consolidate this code. I can make
Yes,
that.
please get rid of those. That I think the way he wrote that initially is just very confusing.
So my question to you is, and we can reference, no problem, cheating and reference Google or whatever. How can I implement a CSS class to make this code more concise?
Boom, and that's when Mr. Google comes in handy, and we're just gonna be like, hey. And then I realize I'm bad at Googling things.
Remember I told you there was a class selector. Do you remember what that was?
I'm still working on how selectors work in all this. I'm not 100% sure. I know ID square A is just swapping it up there for whatever's after the pound sign.
Same for class.
Okay.
The difference is that pound goes for something called ID. Period is the class selector. It goes for something called class.
Okay.
So given what I just told you, do you know how I could do that?
No.
So let's say I literally copy this.
Yeah.
So what I just told you was pound goes for a property called ID. Class goes for a property called class. So let's come up with a class. What do you want to call it?
Square.
Okay, so let's call it square. So how can I change this so that it doesn't refer to ID square, it refers to class square?
Delete the pound, put a period in its place.
Money. So what is wrong with this class rule?
Everything already has set in values.
Nope, that's fine. We can give default values. The problem is that I don't want a value for background color because that's going to be specified in these.
Okay.
I can even leave the background color, honestly, and it'll get overridden, but I don't want it to either.
Fair enough.
So now that I have this class of square, how do I make sure that these three H1 elements have a class of square?
I don't know. That's honestly where I've been stuck at for most of this.
You just say class equals square. Just like that.
Okay.
The difference is that here I got ID A, ID B, ID C, but I'll say class square on all three of them. Okay, let's see what this does. Does this change anything yet? Doesn't change anything, right? But now I have an opportunity to make this code more consolidated inside of the style tag. So what do you think I should try to remove to make this more consolidated?
All of the IDs.
All of the IDs? So like...
Well, like all of the three blocks. Square A, square B, square C.
You want to delete these?
Yeah.
Okay, let's delete them. All right, let's see what happens. What happened?
They're all gone, but it still looks like when you hover over a square still printed in them. What?
I think they just don't have any background color.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So how can I fix that? Let me Control Z. So how can I fix that?
I mean, one would be to leave a default background color within square.
That's true. So let me try that.
And then that should just give you three of the same green square.
Right, but I'm a user. I don't want three. That I want my other colors back. How do I do that?
Uh, like I said, I don't know how this works in CSS for.
No problem.
Yeah.
I'm just asking you to see if you got it yet, but I'll just tell you. So what I instead of removing all of the IDs, why don't I
Yeah.
just remove what they have in common and leave the unique parts?
Okay.
So how about I try it like this? Boom. See? And I can inspect this guy in my nifty dev tools over here. You see styles?
Yeah.
So it tells me which rules come from where, and I can even check them and uncheck them. And I can modify them on the fly. I'm just hold the up arrow
Right. So
key.
when you put things into your H1 tags, does it just automatically assume there's some random object there, or how are you doing this?
So H1 is an object.
Okay. That would have been infinitely helpful. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I can get that. Okay.
H1 is a header object. It's header type 1. I actually don't like to use these tags because it's not semantic. It means it doesn't have an English meaning. What's the difference between H1 and H2?
I assume the size of the header.
You're right, but that's not semantically entailed. You know, if it was semantic, it would be big header, small header, medium header.
Right. Yeah.
Instead, it's just H1, H2, H3. So what I like to do is I'll like to say, like, for example, div, and then I'll give it a class called big header. That's just me. Actually, it's not just me. But anyway.
Actually, that's making a lot more sense now. For most of what I was hung up on is why is there a square there? Because there was no print statement. But you're saying that H1 is already an object, and you're just changing part of the object that's already there with what you're calling through the ID, right?
Yes. So so everything that's here on the right hand side under elements, these are
Yep.
all. This is the DOM, DOM, document object model. This is the actual document. This set of text is the document. It's like a piece of paper, like you write a letter, you call that a document, right? This text is the document. And these tags represent HTML objects.
Yes, that is what I had not yet wrapped my head around.
Cool, making progress. HTML objects by themselves have no style, they have no visual appearance. So CSS is responsible for giving them a visual appearance. I can delete all this CSS and I visit my browser page, and the browser knows that they are here, but they just don't look like anything.
Right.
And I can even do one of these. I can say document dot get element by ID square a dot class list. It's going to give me a list of its classes. So it has a class called square, right?
Yeah.
So I just used JavaScript on the HTML, and there was no CSS, but the JavaScript and HTML still talk to each other. So the document is there, and it's still, you can still use it and whatever. It just doesn't have a visual appearance. That's what CSS is for.
Okay.
And this is really important to keep in mind because when we deal with JavaScript, sometimes we will do operations on invisible objects. And you'll be like, where is that? And the answer is, it's in the virtual DOM. It is not rendered. So for example, H1, it exists. It's a real object, right? But it's not, you can't see it anywhere. It's not displayed.
Yeah, no, I got that. Like I said, I was just very confused why the squares were popping up. It makes a lot more sense once I understand that the tags are objects themselves.
That's right. They represent objects. Okay, cool. So that took a whole bunch of time. Let's go over to my GitHub. Hopefully it was worth it though. So these are my repositories. Let me go get to my repositories page. So I'll just give a quick summary about each of these projects, and then when I'm done, we'll talk about which one you want to work on. So Data Science Practice is a repository full of different languages where I'm doing data analysis. So like here's something from Stata. Here's the input data. Here's my do file. This is Stata language, right? And so this produces where's the final output? Do. It produces some charts, actually. These create charts in Stata. So it produces some charts. Yeah, like this. So this is what that Stata thing did. It produced this chart. No, it didn't. That's a summary table. I actually don't know. It produced some chart somewhere. Stout stacked. Anyway, so we're not interested in these languages. We can do JavaScript data science if you want. So here is right. I'm scraping Udacity. So like unique names, view raw. No, it's not unique names. It is subsample. Output. So you can see there's some, what I did is Udacity does not give you a list of their users, so I had to just find all the common names. Here's Arkansas, Alabama. So I just found like everybody's name, right? Looking at census data, I just found everyone's name. This is taking so long to load because the file's huge. So here are all these first names: Mary, Annie, Margaret. This is everybody's name from Arkansas. And then I created, I combined them to get unique names, and I subsampled it because it was too large. So here's a subsample of randomly selected names sorted into alphabetical order. And then with those, then I went and created usernames and guessed that those were going to be real users in Udacity. You can see most of these rows are blank because that's not a real user. But in some cases, I got a hit. Like there's some users named John. And I got a bunch of information I scraped off his Udacity profile, like his LinkedIn, his resume. Here's his username, John1, you can see. So we can do that if you want. This is actually written in Node, which is server-side JavaScript. But I would suggest that that's later on because you usually want to go to the server after you know the front end. AB America. This is kind of a cool thing. So I'll show you this. So Sugarscape is an agent-based model, like of an economy or whatever. Like all the little dots are supposed to be bacterias, and then the yellow stuff's supposed to be sugar, and they're like eating and living and dying and whatever. So yeah, so we can work on that. What I want to do right there is, you see this, I was actually working on this kind of recently. Where is my, you see this United States?
Yeah.
So did you see all those dots that were like living and dying and stuff?
I mean, I saw a bunch of like black and red dots moving around, if that's what you meant.
Yeah. So those are supposed to be like little bacterias. But what I want to do is I want to take all those and then make them into little people, and they're moving around. These are wherever you vote. These are the legislative districts. So I want the little people to be moving around the United States. That's how we can change that if you want. Okay, next, agent script. This is a fork, so that's not actually mine. All I did is that guy had a typo, so I forked it and I gave him this typo fix. Document hello world Docker test. So this is a hello world application. And the point of it is you can make little documents. Like all they do is they just say like, hey, it's like a, you know how we made those little squares?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that, except it's not styled. It just says span John. It'll be like, this is one of those documents I'm talking about. Span to do, take out trash. And so this is like a little document, and all it does, this Hello World Docker test, is it allows different users. The real point of it is to create users, and the users can create documents, and then they can send them to each other. So the documents themselves are not that fancy. The point is just to be able to have users that send each other stuff.
Okay.
Riscopal is an idea. I haven't coded anything. You can see I got some mock data. The point of this is a research platform. So, like, you come up with an idea, but you don't know is it any good. So you want to get everyone's feedback.
Right.
So that's what this is for. Budget tool. This is not JavaScript. It is a dope budget tool. If you need help budgeting, check this out. It's basically an Excel worksheet with like stuffs in it. So you can see, you can calculate all this cash flow and risk and everything. And identify what's somewhere you can cut back your expenditure or make a good investment, does stuff like that. Card game Aurelia. So this is using a framework called Aurelia to make a card game. Right? Like the only card game in there right now is like a poker deck, and poker doesn't actually work. Like the deck is there, you can shuffle it and draw a card, but you can't actually play a hand of poker. So if we work on that, that's what we would be doing, is actually making it work. But you have to use a framework called Aurelia. Aurelia is JavaScript, but it's like framework means that you have to use it in a certain way. You can't just do whatever you want. So like, you know, whenever you create a new function.
Yeah.
So if you have like tons of functions and then you use them in a certain way, that's pretty much a framework. Like Aurelia is a collection of functions that you use in a certain way.
Okay.
To do to CSV. So what this does is if you have a bunch of folders like on Windows, and like inside those folders you have like text files, and then inside the text files you have to do, like comments that say to do. It takes all of those to dos out of all your different text files and it puts into one spreadsheet.
Huh.
So you have like a spreadsheet of to dos. There is something we can do there, which is link list to table. Yeah, so the thing we can do with this to do is we can implement file extension checking. So right now it goes through literally every file, but if you have like 10,000 files and only 5 of them are actually TXT files, why are you going through all the other ones?
Right, right.
So we could do that. Again, that's in Node.js. Circular AVM, this is an agent-based model. It doesn't actually model anything right now. It just makes a circle with like, let's see if I can view it. No, I can't view it. It just makes a circle with like things bouncing around in it right now. It's not really a useful model. And it uses something called D3JS for visual rendering. Nah, this is called Nah. It's the Angular Agile tool. So this uses a framework called Angular. That's a popular JavaScript framework. And what this does, it's an Agile tool. So Agile is like whenever you get a job as a programmer, Agile is like one of the ways that you'll have project management. It's like the main way that developers do it.
Okay.
So whenever you have a project, you got like a project, and then you got like tasks that you need to do, right? Like you're at a job,
Yeah.
like you've had a job before. Um, so basically, this helps you keep track of different tasks and who's done what and stuff like that.
Okay.
WP Simple slider. This is like it's just a slider, but it doesn't actually need any new development. This is based on jQuery, so you should learn jQuery at some. Actually, that's something you should learn pretty soon. Office.js demo. This uses the JavaScript API for Office, which, like, let's say you have Microsoft Word open, then you can have. Have you ever seen a task pane on the side of Word?
Yes.
Okay, so you got a task pane on the side of Word. JavaScript API for Office lets you make a custom one.
Okay.
So all I do is I demo a bunch of the stuff that the API can do. Cloud VBA, so Visual Basic is like a language. This is a Visual Basic, it doesn't even matter for you, but Visual Basic is a language that you use for like macros for Office products, and a lot of macros are like written on your machine, but Cloud VBA implements a way to actually use that on a server. Fix Your Eyebrows uses a webcam, and then it like puts like transparent eyebrows over your face so that you can like fix your eyebrows. Wow, going through these repositories sucks. I'm like talking too much. I don't think I ever implemented this. Objectify.js. Um, apparently I did something here, but I don't really remember what I was doing. So the point of this is to be able to do data analysis on a spreadsheet, but the spreadsheet is inside your browser. It's not like on your desktop. And that's the point of that. Card game is like, you know how I talked about that other card game using Aurelia, where it has like a poker deck that doesn't really work?
Yeah.
It's the same thing, except it doesn't use Aurelia, it uses Angular 2. JV quiz, I never did this, but it's just a way to make quizzes. Like you can ask a question and see if they got the right answer and give grades and stuff. Validate anything. Oh yeah, I did start on this. So this is for static code analysis. It's called static code analysis. So like, let's say you wrote some JavaScript and you wrote it into a file, and you want to make sure that that JavaScript, it like follows a bunch of rules that you defined. Like you're working with a bunch of other people and you agree to rules like we'll have a semicolon on every line or whatever.
Yeah.
So this validate anything, you can do that, but it doesn't just work for JavaScript, it works for any language actually. WP empty plugin, it's literally an empty plugin for WordPress. So there's nothing in it, but it has the format so that you can put something there and then upload it. And then WP My Florida State Senator. This, here it's on my portfolio. This integrates to WordPress and it lets you enter a zip code and find your state senator. So you have to use a actually valid zip code. For Florida, an example is 3314. I'll put that there. Here's the state senator. All right, cool. So any of these that you want to work on? Or you want my recommendation?
Yeah, what do you think?
Or do you want to make a new thing that's your idea? My recommendation would be to work on the Angular Agile tool.
Yeah, let's give that a shot.
Give that a shot. Okay, so so clone it. So you still don't want to share your screen? Can you go ahead and do that though? Even if I can't see.
Oh, yeah, sure. Buttons, which there is one of these. There we go.
Are you sharing now?
I am now.
Okay. Let me see. Cool. So do you have a GitHub account?
Yes.
Awesome.
I believe I did. All right. And then what? I just search for you, right?
Yeah.
What are you? Oh, just Vanderveer?
No. You did it right. It says we couldn't find any repositories, but if you look up, it says there's one user.
User. There we go.
Follow me, dude. I like how it says my language is Ruby. I hate that language. So it's even on the pinned repositories. Nah.
All right. So
clone it.
You said clone?
Yeah. So you can click that .git location, copy it on your clipboard.
Oh, gotcha.
And did you get Tortoise Git? I think you installed that before.
I very well might have.
So yeah, so just right click in the white area. Boom, there's Tortoise. Git clone.
Oh, git clone. There we go. Boom.
And it already took it from your clipboard, so just put it there. Cool, dude, you cloned it. Close. So you have the code on your desktop now. Boom. All these check marks. Green means that you have the latest code. Red means that you made a change on your local that you didn't put up there. And yellow means that you have a conflict. So everything's green, so that's good. So why don't you hold shift and right click in the white folder area? And you see open command window here. And type exit and hit enter. All right, cool. So can you go find console emu? I had you install that before. Con emu,
Yeah.
sorry. I always call it console emu. That's fine. Click OK. So in the top right, not the X, but the top right of inside the window, yeah, that. Settings. So on the left, it will say integration. And under that, it says default term.
Yeah.
So up at the top, it says storage. under that it says warning, the sky is falling, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Then it says force con emu as default terminal. Check that. And
Okay.
register on startup. Check that. And save settings. All right, click into the terminal, type exit, hit enter. So go back to the NA folder and hold shift and right click again and open it. So now it's using, this is your terminal, that's what you want. So type npm, N like Nancy, P like program, M like mom,
Okay.
and then space, install. So go ahead and hit that. npm is not recognized. So type NODE space dash V dash,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, enter. Okay, so and exit and hit enter, or close it with the X, either way. So can you go install Node real quick? I didn't realize that you didn't have Node.
All right. No, wrong, but
It's a quick installation.
and
Yep, right up at the top.
this
Yep. Just
perfect.
get the latest version.
Well, while that's going on, here's a quick King of the Hill thing. He had his goals set out from a really young age. It was good of him.
That's awesome.
There we go. For some reason it took that long just to ask for permission. And boom. All right, there we go.
Cool. One more time.
All right, it said what? NPM?
Space install. Good. So npm means Node Package Manager. So almost any project that is a Node.js so almost any project you need a server and a front end.
Yeah.
So JavaScript servers are written in Node.js. So even if we're not like writing server-side code, we still at least need a server. Even if we don't mess with it, it still needs to be there in the background so that we can see our code. And
Okay.
so we need to have Node installed, and we need to run npm install. npm install refers to that package folder. You see inside the NA folder, you got package.
You mean the node modules, or where's package at?
It's a JSON file near the
Oh,
bottom.
well, down there. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, so it will use that, and it will make a bunch of HTTP requests to go download a whole bunch of files into that node modules folder. And those files will allow the project to run and display properly. Also, I'd recommend that you turn
All
your
right.
extensions on. Like right now, the extensions are not shown. Not a big deal. You don't really have to. I'm just saying.
No, I just don't. Do you just like mean up here?
No, like for example, package.
Yeah.
It's called package, but it should say package.json. So you got the type over there, but like that one called, yeah.
I'll do that later, I guess, once I actually figure stuff out.
It's not a big deal. It's just useful because you're going to want to be able to edit them as well. Like you can create a new text file and then make it HTML, JavaScript, CSS, or something else. So it's nice to have access to those. All right, so it looks like it finished. Oh no, it's still there.
Uh,
Yeah, it's still processing.
so process. Yeah.
So while we are getting set up, you can go up a level in your folder structure and right-click that folder.
Yeah.
And open as brackets project. Is it like stuck on something?
Uh,
Is that little slash still spinning?
no. Well, I'm pretty sure it's done, ain't it?
No, it should not have that white bar there. Let me see on my side. So this is not. Let's get it show on.
Oh, no, it started spinning again.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, it was just going really slow or something.
Well, that's what happens when you have a bottom of the line one core processing. Okay, there we go. Looks like it's done.
All right, cool. So, nope, not quite done. You'll have your C
No?
colon. You'll have your C colon when it's done.
Oh, that makes sense. Ooh.
Boom. Now you're there. Now you're there.
Alrighty. Boom.
So
I
now
can close out of this, right?
No, keep it open.
No.
That thing's gonna. This is your new friend. The command line is gonna be open like forever.
Like
So
forever ever?
forever ever.
All right.
So I'll just show you real quick on the inside brackets. Go to that package.json file. So you see there's something called scripts.
Yeah.
So scripts is a key. You could also call it a property, or you could also call it an attribute. It's just like when we were writing XML, it goes inside the tag, right?
Yeah.
Um, but this is the way you write that in JSON. So, so all those strings, whenever it's in double quotes, those are called strings.
Yeah.
Oh, you know that because you did a little Java. Anyways, those are all things that you can run with npm, or npm run script.
Okay.
So usually it'll be npm start is the way you launch the server, and we can check based on this. It is if I type start, it's going to invoke http server, all that. So it looks like it's going to launch the server as expected if I do npm start. In other projects, sometimes they'll have you do a different command like npm run script run, or something like that, or serve. But it is start. So just try and do that command right now. Sorry, it's go ahead and exit that one. It's npm start.
Oh, okay.
So when you tell it to do npm, it's going to read the package JSON. Otherwise, if you just did start, it'll be doing the command line itself, start. Cool. So you see it says starting up HTTP server available on, and then Control C to stop. So
Yeah.
this command line needs to stay open as long as you want the server to run. If you close the command line, it will stop the server.
Okay.
If you need to use a command line, and you will often need to use multiple at the same time, this con emu allows you to have tabs, which is why one of the many reasons it's way better than the native command line. But go ahead and visit that localhost. Another thing you can do is you can just click and drag, yeah, and it'll copy it to your clipboard.
But no, I just want to copy. And
Can you paste on the regular command line? That one lets you paste. I'm not sure if you can do that on the regular command line.
I don't think it does.
Right.
Also, I need to open another window. All right.
Boom. So this is the application, and you can
Okay.
maximize that. We don't need to look at the server. There's nothing logging on the server that really matters.
Best server. Such a good server. It's trying so hard.
It didn't even find the favicon, dude. What a shitty server. No, this project doesn't have a favicon. Can you show that web page on your screen that you're sharing?
Oh, this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's make one change, and then we'll be done with meeting for tonight. And you can obviously make more changes if you feel like it. So looking at this application, what is one thing you would want to do here?
Looking at this,
Yeah.
on all this stuff should probably be just moved over. Looks way too close to the edge. That's more of an aesthetic thing, though.
No, any change you want to do. Oh, we never did that click to make it an alert. But yeah, if you want to just make an aesthetic change, that's fine. We're just any change you want to do. So what do you want to move over?
Pretty much the entire screen.
All right, so
Like when everything starts right over here, it just
yeah.
makes everything look real crummy, I guess. I don't know.
So are you where it says home planning status? That's called the nav bar. So do you want to give the nav bar more margin as well, or just everything under it?
I think if everything under it was moved to where this home button starts, and then you also moved this over a little bit more, that'd be perfect. Or even if you just moved the nav bar to the left a little and moved all this over.
Okay. Well, either one you want to do. So let's start by right click. Let's start by opening up DevTools. You can either press F12 or right click inspect something.
All right, we're gonna go F12. It's less buttons.
Cool. So let's find the element which represents the view that you want to style.
All right, that should just. I assumed it was the body itself, but I could be wrong. Wait, it looks like this.
So yeah, NG is short for Angular. It's the abbreviation you'll see all over using the Angular framework. So that's
Uh-huh.
so you see how it has an attribute called Angular View, and it
Yeah.
has a class called Angular Scope. So this is
Yep.
the view body. So would you meet your requirement if we just adjust this style, or did you want to go mess with the header as well?
T-
We can do both. It's just there are two
we
separate
can do
things.
both. The main thing is definitely this, though.
Cool. So give it a click over there on DevTools, and you see in the bottom right we have styles.
Yeah, here.
Yeah. So let's scroll around there and see what rules we have going on.
That's color. That's
And if it has a line through it, it is not being applied. It got overwritten by something else.
so what? Box sizing.
Nope. I just wanted to see what there was. None of these are actually helping us. So you can scroll back to the top. So can you hover over that element again?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can just add margin, maybe. Margin or padding. Actually, padding might be better. So you see where it says in styles, it says element.style.
Yeah.
So click in there. Go up. You're inside of the asterisk role. I don't want to edit the asterisk role. I want to edit the element.style role. Yeah. So try either margin or padding, whichever you prefer, and give it whatever value you want. And you can see
Now,
how
is there a real difference between the two?
yes. But I think in
What's
this,
padding?
so padding, you see that box on the right? There's like orange, yellow, green, blue, and it says margin border padding.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what it's going to be. Padding is considered part of the element. Margin is considered space between elements.
Oh, okay. That's
So they both make it wider. So let's say you did 20 pixels of margin. They would both make it wider by 20 pixels. But let's say you did background color green, it would not appear in the margin area. It would appear in the padding area.
yeah. I definitely want padding. Oh. So padding, and we want on the left side. I know that.
Do you just want it on the left, or do you want it on the right as well, or do you want it on the top and bottom as well?
Well, ideally, I just want to pretty much shift the whole thing over to the right.
Okay.
So that'd just be adding padding to the left, right?
Yeah, that's true. So go for it.
And then this is all just based in pixels.
You can use pixels, you can use percent, you can use EM or VW.
Yeah, let's just go like that. So if I went,
You have to actually use pixels, PX. You have to specify because it can use any of those kinds I just mentioned. So you have to specify. Boom. So is that what you're looking for? Now here's the cool thing about DevTools. You can keep deleting and typing if you want, but hold the up key.
hold the up key.
Yeah.
Oh,
check. So once you get
nice.
good with DevTools, dude, it's going to make you so much faster. Trust me. Learn how to use it. Same with brackets. There's so many shortcuts. Dude, you want to invest a little bit of time in using these tools. They're going to make you way more quick.
All right. Now that's actually enough. That's really just off the edge of the screen.
Cool. So So as a matter of practice, this is cool. I guess we're done, but I wanted you to actually commit something, and I don't want you to commit that. So can you up the pixels some more?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I was just there.
Can you just up it until it's in line with home? Down a little bit. Right about there. So this is 34 pixels. Can you make it into a percent so that it's the same distance, but it uses percent?
Yeah, so let's go. Oh, not 5.
It can use a fraction, so you can go like 2.2.
Ah,
When you do up arrow and down arrow, it will not do the fraction, but you can type it. So that looks pretty good to me. Does it look good to you?
yeah.
Okay, so the good thing about percent instead of pixels is that it's responsive. If you have a different size of a screen, it will still make the change. Now,
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah.
yeah, super important, right? Because anyway, now can you change padding left to padding? Because that's what I would prefer.
Yeah, sure thing.
Boom. So I like that a little bit more. And now at 2.5%, it's now applying to the top, right, bottom, and left. Can you click the right arrow key? Oh no, what just happened?
So I hit down.
Yeah, and hit space and hit 0. I'm sorry, I did that backwards. Backspace twice. Go to the front of the rule, 0 space. So now it's 0 on top and bottom, 2.5 on left and right. You can hit enter. And
Huh.
I guess this is good for me. I'm not sure if I would prefer padding or margin right here, but I guess the fact that I'm not sure makes it good enough. So can you actually add this change, and we'll even put this on my project.
Yeah, so to add the change, how would I go about doing that? Do I
So
just copy this code and add it to the
yeah,
like
so you
add
know
it to
the style
brackets?
rule. You know the style rule. This is the rule you want, but you need to go apply it in the project somewhere. So sure, copy it. Go into your brackets project, and you need to find the proper CSS file. Actually, you can go back to the browser real quick to help you figure out the CSS file.
Boom, where was that? Oh yeah, because
So inside styles, you can look around for a rule that's affecting just this element. Can you scroll down? Down, down, down. Anything that's for body, HTML, HTML. Let's keep looking. So none of these apply specifically to the ng-scope class or the ng-view element. So go back to brackets. This is good, actually. It's going to give us a chance to do something cool.
okay.
Actually, go back to the website. I'm going to show you as a developer how we would do this. So we need to know what file to mess with, but we have no idea.
Right.
So this is an Angular application, but really any application, a good way to do that is to look at the page and find some unique content and then search for that string in the project. So look at the page, not the dev tools, but the actual page.
All right.
So some of the things your eye might be drawn to. This is the home view, add make, add model, add price, add new. Toyota Silica, home planning status. So I'll tell you some of the good ones and some of the bad ones. Home planning and status, those are bad things to search for because those are going to be associated with the header. We don't want to edit the header. We want to edit the ng view, the Angular view, as we talked about, right?
Yeah.
So let's skip home. We're not going to search for home planning status. This is the home view. Okay, maybe that could work. Add, make, model, price, add new. Those could maybe work. Toyota Silica, we do not want to look for those, and I'll tell you why.
I assume you have another document that has the actual reference data that this just pulls up when you actually search for things.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. So it will take us to the wrong file. So, and same with that table. Even the table is a separate component.
Oh, okay.
So based on that, what do you want to look for?
Based on that, if I look here, and I'm looking for something unique to this, I'd say this is the home view is probably what we're looking for, right?
Yes, sir. So go over there to brackets, and brackets has a built-in search all projects, and the so you can go file edit wherever it is, find I guess it is. But what I do is Control Shift F. It's indexing, so it just takes a second. So Control
Yeah.
F is search this file. Control Shift F is search the whole project. Super nifty. It takes it a while to index the first time, but as long as you leave brackets open, then any other searches it'll be pretty quick.
If you go off that page, does it cancel the search?
Maybe I don't know. I
I
do
think so.
think.
But this, I think, is where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, you're right, sir. So
Uh,
so this is the HTML file. Now you remember I said that HTML, um, the style actually comes from CSS.
right.
So there's a couple ways to do that. Actually, the first thing I would say is that this project is not constructed properly, so I need to go work on it. If we were super awesome, we can do this later when we have more time. If we were super awesome, the home folder would have a CSS file. But the thing is you need to be able to inject that CSS dynamically, so that requires some hookup in Angular. So that's probably why I didn't do it. I was being lazy. So two ways that we can do this instead. One is we can add it right here to app,
Uh-huh.
and it will apply everywhere in the app. The other way is we can go in that home HTML and put it in a style tag. And I think either of those will be fine.
Now the style tag should still be within that box, or should be like if I just want style affecting this, it just needs to be in that ng view class, right?
ngView is a property, it's not a class. ngScope is a class.
Gotcha.
Um,
Yeah.
so you would need to use the CSS selector that will get ngView. Now, ngView, this is the home view. It's not the only ngView. It's a specific ngView.
Okay.
But actually, now that you mention it, like say you click planning, go ahead and click planning.
Is that
No, like on the browser, you're a user, and
oh
up there on
yeah.
the nav bar, you have planning. So, are you going to want the padding here?
Uh does it have that same table thing?
I mean, it's to do, so all it really has right now is text, but eventually there would probably be a table, yeah.
Actually I'm gonna say yes already. That's yeah, everywhere should be like that.
So what you're saying is all of the Angular views, not just the home view, all of the Angular views should have this rule. So we can select the Angular view selector. That's fine. And in that case, we do not want it specific to home. We want to go put it in app.css.
Okay, that means
So just go to the end and just add a couple line breaks and put a new rule here. Now what you want to do is you want to get the attribute selector. If you don't remember it, just Google it. That's an important selector. We should use it in this case.
all right. Let's bring that up. Uh, Wait, what am I looking at here? That does not seem right.
Those are examples.
Uh, All right, and we want to select specifically. I'm sorry. Where was that? Okay. And we want specifically you said this was the class or?
So angular view is an attribute or a property.
Right. Now what's scope?
ng scope is a class. You see it says class equals.
Yeah. But real quick, how would I know whether I'm trying to affect the attribute or the class?
That's a good question. So part of this has to do with the fact that you just got to learn Angular. So ng scope, it indicates that there is some JavaScript data scope. So it's actually a logical class. So if you style based on ng, and the other thing is that the object you're interested in styling is the view, whatever view you're on, but you're not interested in styling anything that has a scope. So for example, if you hover on the right over there, and if you go up a little, you see there's something called Angular Controller, and it has a different scope.
Yeah.
So if you select based on the class Angular scope, that's going to get the padding too, but you don't want to do that.
Gotcha.
So if I'm a new developer, the way I know is because I don't want to change everything that has Angular scope. I just want to change the thing called Angular view. But if I'm an advanced developer, it's also because I know Angular scope is not even meant for styling. It's meant for JavaScript.
All right. And I'm not 100% sure which one of these.
So if you're not sure based on the summary, go to the example. So span is an element. A means anchor. That's another element. Input is another element. Right? And if you scroll down a little more, that's the CSS. If you scroll down a little more, this is the HTML that it's referring to. And if you scroll down even further, there's the rendered output.
Oh, gotcha.
So lang, scroll down and look for something called span.
Yeah.
And what is lang?
That's just what language it's in.
I mean, you're absolutely right, but that's the attribute.
Okay.
So we want to select the attribute, and that's exactly what it's doing. It's selecting lang. So how did it do that? You see Portuguese?
I mean, it just said lang equals, right?
So you see down at the bottom it says Portuguese.
Yeah.
And then it has something in green. So then if we look on the HTML, the thing that's green is, I don't know how you say that, Hola Mundo, right?
Yeah.
So this is what's actually being selected. This is the element that is being selected, and we know based on the rendered output, it's getting a rule to the effect of color green.
Okay.
So now let's look at the CSS and see what does the color green rule look like. So color green.
PT.
So this is the selector they're using. Now, what if you go back to the you go back to the summary? Attribute equals value. It selects it whose value is exactly value. But we don't care about it being exactly value. So the way we do that is if you go up one further, you just don't put equals value, you just put the attribute there.
Oh, sorry. What is the difference between these? Okay. So just put the attribute?
Just put the attribute. So how would I rewrite the color green if I don't care that it has a value of PT.
It would just be span lang color green.
Yep, that's right. What if I don't even care that it's a span?
Just lang and then the curly brackets color green.
Yes, but do I need a little bit more than the letters LANG?
Do you need the equals?
You need the bracket.
Oh, you need the bracket. Oh, I guess that makes sense.
The bracket is
Yeah.
the actual attribute selector. So like
So
there's a
going here, we're just
yes.
and you say it was called ng view, I think.
Double check it.
Is that a minus or an equals? Or a dash? Yeah, it's a dash. Duh. Spelling. I can do that. Yeah. All right. So is that about right?
So that's technically correct, but I would say anytime you're developing on someone else's project, try to format according to their standards.
Right. Gotcha. So in that case,
Good, and then add one more line break at the end of the file. That's just a convention about the end of the file. It's not a big deal. Now notice there's one more formatting difference.
is this pushed in a little?
Now padding is to the right. You got 2 extra spaces.
Oh, so just like that.
Hit space twice. You see how you're in line with the other rules now.
Okay, gotcha.
Cool.
Sorry, my
And
monitor itself is offset to the left, so that's
yeah, the editor itself is configured differently than whoever wrote this file, which by the way was me. So how you can adjust that is in the bottom right. You see of brackets, it says spaces 4. Just click that. No, don't make it a tab size. Stay away from tabs. Always use spaces. You will freak me out, and any good developer will be freaked out if you mix tabs and spaces. Just use spaces, but make it 2 instead of 4. 2 is better because you can use 2 if you need to, and then if you need to use 4, you just do it again. You hit tab and it'll put 2 spaces there, so you can do 2s and 4s. But if you start with a 4, you can't ever get to the 2s. Anyway, Control S and you're good. So check it. Check the rendered output.
and oh yeah, let's just go back here. Nice.
Bingo! You're pro, dude. All right, now, and it's on the other steps, right? It's on the other ones too, right?
Yeah, that's what I was just checking. Those are all
Cool. Now commit it.
okay. How do you do that?
So you go to your folder in Explorer, yeah. And actually, if you're in brackets, you can go back to brackets. I'll show you one thing real quick. Right click, you see in working files, it has app.css.
Like right here?
In working files up at the top. Yeah,
oh, yeah, gotcha.
There as well, but it brought it to working files for you. Right click that, and you can say show in Explorer.
Drag this over. This is what popped up. So
Yep.
It's this file right here.
So it'll take you right to it. Now you could have done it the other way as well as you were doing, just navigate around the folders. But if you're not sure exactly what folder, you can just show in Explorer. It'll take you right there. So you see that it's red.
Yeah.
That means you got code that the server doesn't have. So right click, git commit. And how to do a proper commit message, you put a summary at the top, you hit enter twice, and you can write as much as you want after 2 enters. But the second line should always be blank.
Oh, that's so not how you spell aesthetic.
Just say style. Just say style.
Yeah.
Good. So that's a good summary. But specifically, what did you do? Good.
And
No, that's
it's not a class. It's a attribute. You said.
yes, sir. Any Angular developer, you could just say added padding to ngView, and they would know what you meant. But yeah,
Okay.
this is technically correct and more detailed. Perfect. See, that's a great comment right there, man. If every developer gave a comment like that, then we might know what the fuck is going on with programs these days, but we don't. Okay, commit it.
All right. Boom.
Now, one thing to note,
Uh-huh.
maybe you already know this, but committing it saves it on your machine. It does not notify the server.
Okay.
That's important, and I'll tell you why. You can fuck a bunch of stuff up, and you can commit it, and you can have a record, and you can always go back. This is Git. This is how Git works. So you want to commit, even if you don't ever notify the server. Maybe you're like, I know my code is garbage. I don't want to publish it on the internet, but I want to have all my backups. You can commit over and over and over, and just don't push. It will never notify the server. If you do want to notify the server, that's when you push.
All right. And now, what other options are there under the drop down? What's pull?
Pull means get any changes that the server has that you don't have it yet.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead and push.
Go ahead and push.
Usually you want to pull before you push, but I know that you just cloned like an hour ago and people don't change my repository that much, so there's not any changes on the server.
Gotcha. Now, real quick. So, is this making changes to your file on your account, kind of thing?
If it works, that's exactly what it'll do, yes.
Okay. So, real quick, let's say if I guess I got like if I had like really screwed up the code, so I assume you can go back and like pull an earlier version.
Yep, that is called reverting or rolling back. Now, if it's really working, it's going to block you. Yeah, if it's really working, it's going to block you because you don't have authority to write to my account. It's like, fuck you, dude.
All right, cool. I thought that would be a little weird.
Yeah, no, this is what it should do. Now, if I gave you permission ahead of time, you could write all you want, but I didn't do that. So I was about to get freaked out if it let you do that. But go ahead and hit close. Now, right click in the white area and say show tortoise git, show log.
There we go.
So you can see all the different changes that have happened recently.
Okay.
And if you scroll to the very top,
Yeah.
you can see yours is style change, and that's ahead. And you see author Mike V.
Yeah.
So this is your revision history.
Okay.
If you right click on hook grid, you see it says hook grid.
Yeah.
Don't actually do this, but you could reset to this. That would take your code and you would go back there. Actually, go ahead and do it. Reset to this. And say hard.
And say what?
Reset type hard. Don't do mixed. Mixed sucks. Hard. Okay, close. And now go to brackets. Oh no, what happened?
No.
You lost your code,
Disappeared.
right? But nothing actually got lost because you're working with Git. Everything is still there. So go back to the log. All you got to do is either reset or merge style change. Either one will do the same thing if you reset or merge. Go to merge. Click merge to master. Say OK. Boom, close. So it just merged the code change.
All right. Now, real quick, what if the version I had already had an ngView, like, or ngView padding, let's say it was like 1 and 2.5. If I merged them both, would I just have like 2 of this same
No.
thing?
No, what would happen is Tortoise Git and Git itself, not even just Tortoise. Tortoise is a graphical interface on top of Git, and Git itself runs on the command line, or
Okay.
it runs in Git Bash. So everything that happens in Tortoise actually happens in Git, but so if I say Tortoise does something, it's actually more true that Git does it. Tortoise only does it because Git did it first. Anyway, uh, Git would generate a conflict and it would notify you, and you would either resolve the conflict or abort the merge. Or you could,
Gotcha.
but the other thing you could do is you could force the merge and it would overwrite your code with whatever you're merging.
Oh, okay.
So now you got this code and it's not letting you upload it to me. But here's what you can do is you can do a pull request. And that says, hey John, I don't have authority to push this, but can you please pull it? Even though I can't push it, can you please pull it?
All right. And how would I do that?
Actually, you know what? I'm not sure if that's going to work because of the way we clone this repository. But let's try it. So close this log and go to your folder.
Okay.
So right click anywhere in the white space and Tortoise Git. And is there something called pull request? Go to push again. And don't just click OK. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so what you can do is you can push this to a different location. So you can't write to my account, but you can write to your own account. So
Oh.
cancel. So cancel. Go to Git. GitHub. I'm sorry. GitHub on the website.
I was just signed in.
So go back, back to Vanderveer, back to that repository.
Okay. Gotcha. Hey, Peter.
Right? I'm
No,
better
not
than
that guy.
I'm a better coder than him. I creeped on him one day. I'm like, you're not that good, bro.
All right. So going to nah.
Yeah, so you see where it says new pull. Can we do a new pull request here? Yeah, I would not do that, although you could. I would not do that because what that's going to do is it's going to create a temporary branch and it's going to give you one code change, but you're not going to have the actual whole branch, and you want the actual whole branch. You want to fork it is what you want to do.
There's a new pull request.
Yeah, but did you just hear me say why you don't want to do that?
Oh, I clicked on branch when you said that. So no, say that again.
So if you click new pull request, it will allow you to enter one code change.
Yeah.
I mean, and if all you care about is the one code change and you never want to make another change again, that will be fine. But if you want to continue to make more changes and pull request over and over, it's going to be really inconvenient to come to github.com every time.
Right.
Instead, what you can do is you can make a fork. And you can change as many things as you want and then submit one pull request for all of them.
Oh, okay.
So in the top right, you see it says fork.
Yes.
So click that. And good job, you got a fork. So you see in the top it says Mike Vanderveer.
Yes.
So this is yours now. You basically copied the code, but this is yours, so you have permission to put anything you want. So clone or download. Click that.
Click this link.
Yeah, copy it. Now here's the bad news: is you might have to reclone, but I actually don't have to reclone. You can switch the you can switch the branch location. Let's see if I can remember. I remember how to do that. I have to Google it real quick. So this is git switch master URL. All right, so on git bash, it's git remote set URL, but let's see if Tortoise can help us do this. So do you have Explorer? And if you right click and Tortoise, you did right, Tortoise git. Is there anything that will let us repo browser?
Where am I?
There.
Okay.
Let's see if it lets us edit this guy.
So what am I trying to edit here?
Can you click head? You're trying to edit the branch that's in charge. Right now it thinks it's my code, but you want to switch it over to your code. All right, cancel.
Oh, what about just create branch?
No, you don't want to do that. Try show ref log. Nope, none of this works. That is why we have git bash. So Tortoise git is great for normal operations, but for weird operations, it can't do everything. So double click nga. Don't actually. I want to see if you can do something else. So shift right click, and you see you have git bash here.
Yeah.
So you can go right to it. Now say git status. Do it with an I. Git, yeah. So on branch master. Okay, now say get remote set URL. That's 3 phrases. Set URL has a dash. All right, let's. Yeah, but don't hit enter. So hit space. Say origin. Say space. And do you still have that mic whatever on your clipboard and you can right click?
Yeah.
So right click. Paste. All right, so hit enter and let's see if it explodes. It looked fine, so say exit. Now go back to your git.
Okay. Oh, not GitHub, just.
I'm sorry, your Tortoise. Yeah, your Tortoise.
Oh.
And show log. Actually, show log is not going to work. Try and push.
Wait, duh.
Look at that, success, and it pushed it to Mike Vanderveer. So we're both geniuses because we did the git things. So click there and hit F5. Look, you see style change, Mike Vanderveer, most recent commit.
Yeah.
And notice that it says 14 minutes ago, not 14 seconds ago. So it is time stamped at the time you do the commit, not the time you do the push.
Oh. Good to know.
And now if you click Mike Vanderveer, you see you have a green spot now.
Yeah, go green. Wait, what is this? Oh, okay, fair
That's
enough.
just some bullshit. That's some. You're not even a real developer yet. They just want to make you feel good.
Well, thank you
Cool.
so much.
Yep. So that's all I got for you today, dude. Feel free to screw around with the code. That's your own fork, so you can completely destroy it. It doesn't bother me. So just experiment and try to do real changes. And eventually, this is going to be part of your portfolio that you show to people.
Awesome.
All right, sir. Anything else for me?
Uh, no, I think that's everything.
All right. Talk to you later.